Today we'll be solving systems of equations. We're going to continue with the lesson, and then I'm going to solve systems using algebraic methods, which include substitution and elimination method. And then we're going to solve systems of inequalities. This was the independent problem in your lesson for solving systems. Emily loves collecting coins. She has a small piggy bank where she keeps her coins. She has a total of 12 coins in her piggy bank, which consists of quarters and dimes. If the total value of the coins in her piggy bank is 230, how many quarters and how many dimes does she have? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the key words: 12 coins, quarters, and dimes. And we have an amount of 230. It says highlighting key and discuss key parts of the problem. What is the problem asking for? It's asking for the amount of quarters and dimes that she has. So what is the problem asking for? The amount of quarters and the amount of dimes. What equations can be used to describe this situation? It did say to use x for quarters. So I'm going to say x is for quarters plus the number of dimes, which she said to use y. How many coins does she have total? Well, it says here in the paragraph it's 12. If I wanted to figure out the number of quarters and dimes, or the value, I would have to know what's the value of a quarter. We all know that. It's 0.25 times the number of quarters we have, plus the value of a dime times the number of dimes we have. And that amount is $2.30. So once again, the two equations are x plus y, which is quarters and dimes, is equal to 12. And then the total value is 25 cents per quarter plus 10 cents per dime, which gives you $2.30. Number 3, do you have to write the equation in slope-intercept form? If so, then show the necessary steps. And the question is yes. So the first equation is x plus y equals 12. So the equation is y equals negative x plus 12. Now the other equation, we're gonna have to solve for y. So what we have to do first is subtract 0.25x from both sides. So you have 0.10y equals negative 0.25x plus $2.30. And then the next item is divided by 0.10. So y equals negative 2.5x plus 23. So we have these two equations. And what we're going to do is to solve this system, we got to figure out where they both intersect. So we're going to use Desmos. So we have to fix the window. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the wrench. I know that in the problem, x was quarters. So I'm going to go ahead and write quarters. And I know that the y represents the dimes. It doesn't make sense to have negative quarters, so I'm going to start at 0. And it doesn't make sense to have zero dimes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to 20 for quarters, and I'm going to go up to 20 for dimes. Or actually, I'll go up to 100. So now I'm going to type in the first equation. So we have y equals negative x plus 12. And then the other equation is y negative 2.5x. So I'm just going to go ahead. And here is the two equations. And where they both meet, it will be 7 quarters and 4 dimes and 5 dimes. Let's see this. I'm going to go ahead and check this. Okay, for this problem, our solution will be 7 quarters and 5 dimes. And I'm here to tell you that if you check it, I'm not sure if it's going to come out correct with $2.30. So just for the sake of us going through the process, let's just assume that 7.5 is the answer, which it is the answer. And So the number of quarters that she has is 7, and then the number of dimes is 5. So if we go back to our exit ticket, our due now, it says Ms. Morales wrote a test with 15 questions covering spelling and vocabulary. Spelling questions, we're going to use X and they're worth 5 points. Vocabulary questions are worth 10 points. The maximum number of points possible is 100. What is the number of each question for a test that is worth 100 points? So we're going to go ahead and write a system, and then we're going to solve it using Desmos. So X is the spelling questions. So we have X plus Y, and we said there are 15 questions. Now to figure out the points, it's going to be 5 times the number of spelling plus 10 times the number of vocabulary, and altogether we want 100 points. The next step is to figure out how we can write these in slope-intercept form. So for the first equation, remember to place that in slope-intercept form, I have to subtract x from both sides. So in slope-intercept form, it's going to be y equals negative x plus 15. For the second equation, I have to solve for y. So I have to subtract 5x from both sides. So I have 10 y equals negative 5x plus 100. Then I have to divide by 10. So I have 10 divided by 10 is y. Negative 5 over 10 is a fraction that can be simplified. And we know that's going to be negative x over 2, or we say negative 1/2. And then 100 divided by 10 is 10. Therefore, my system has y equals negative x plus 15. And then my other equation is y equals negative x over 2 plus 10. Now we will go to Desmos and figure out solve the solution. So now we're in Desmos, and I'm going to go ahead and clear out what I had before. And I'm going to fix the graph setting. So here you click on the wrench. We said that the x coordinate is talking about spelling questions, and the y coordinate is talking about vocabulary questions. So as you can see, I have the x, which is those spelling questions, and the y is the vocabulary questions, and it doesn't make sense to have negative questions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in here 20, since I know the max is 15, so I'm just going to say 20 on each side. And now I'm going to type in both equations. So I went ahead and graphed both equations, and where they both intersect is the amount of questions I have. So in this case, for this situation, I had 10 spelling questions, and I had 5 vocabulary questions. So I'm going to write that down here on my solution. So I have 10 spelling and 5 vocabulary. As you're watching this video, whatever I do in this video is what you're going to be held responsible for turning it in. So the next lesson is called Solving Systems Algebraically, and the first method I'm going to use is solving by substitution. So we have 2 equations, and you notice that this equation we have 2x plus y equals 10. We can solve for y easily by subtracting 2x from both sides. Now that we have that y is equal to negative 2x plus 10, we're going to go back and we're going to substitute into the other equation. Now if you notice, I went ahead and I substituted. We have 3x plus 4, and since I knew that y is equal to negative 2x plus 10, I substituted. And now you see this equation only has one variable. So the next step is to solve for x. So I have 3x plus, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the distributive property. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8x. 4 times 10 is 40 equals 12. 3x minus 8x, I'm going to simplify. It's negative 5x plus 40 equals 12. Next, I'm going to subtract both sides by 40. So I have negative 5x equals negative 28 divided by negative 5. So x equals 5.6. Now we're not done with the system. We have to go back, and you can go back to this equation and you can substitute. So we have y equals negative 2 times 5.6 plus 10. So I went ahead and I substituted the value of x, which is 5.6. And so the value of y equals negative 1.2. So the solution is 5.6, comma, negative 1.2. The elimination method is what it means. Elimination, you're going to eliminate some variable. So if I come to problem 3, if I see problem 3, you can see that if I add both equations, something becomes eliminated. 4x plus negative 4x, that becomes eliminated. So 2y plus 3y gives you 5y equals 16 plus 9 gives you 25. Divide both sides by 5, so y equals 5. So we're not done yet. What we need to do is we need to go back into one of the equations and substitute. So we have 4x plus 2 times y equals 9. In this case, our y value is 5. So we're going to substitute now. We're going to solve for x. We have 4x plus 10 equals 9. I subtract 10 from both sides, so 4 equals negative 1. Since we're multiplying, we're going to divide, so x equals negative 1/4. So the solution to this system will be negative 1/4, comma 5. The elimination method of solving systems of equation is also called the addition method. To solve a system by elimination, we transform the system such that one variable cancels out. So in this case, the y's cancel out, and then we're able to solve for x, then substitute the value into the other equation and solve for y. So let me go ahead and do example 1 here. So you notice that when I add, these cancel. That's why it's called the elimination or the addition method. 3x minus 10x is negative 7x equals negative 5 plus 12 gives you 7. Divide by negative 7. So x equals negative 1. So x is equal to negative 1. Now what you have to do is you have to go back and substitute. So you have 3 times negative 1 minus 4y equals negative 5. The question you might have is, which one do we go into? Well, it all depends on which one you want to use. You can use the first one or you can use the second one. You just got to have to use one of them. So you have negative 3 minus 4y equals negative 5. Negative 4y equals, you have to add 3 to both sides. So it's going to be negative 2. Next is you divide by negative 4. So y, you notice that it's a fraction, negative 2 over negative 4, and it can be simplified. So that's 1/2. So the answer is x is negative 1, comma 1/2. If you look at number 2, you notice there's nothing that we can eliminate, but we get a hint. Multiply the second equation by negative 4. So I'm going to multiply the equation by negative 4, and you're going to see what's going to happen. So I have 3x plus 4y equals 52. I have negative 20x minus 4y equals, and you're doing the distributive property. You're distributing the negative 4. So it's negative 1. So now if you notice, by us multiplying by negative 4, we're able to eliminate this. 3x minus 20x, since we're going to add both equations, we get negative 17x, and this cancels. 52 plus negative 120 gives you negative 68. And then we're going to go ahead and divide. We're going to divide by negative 17. So x equals 4. So we went ahead and we solved this system. So x equals 4. Now we're going to go back and we're going to substitute into the other equation. So you have 5 times x plus y equals 30. So it's actually 5 times 4. So we have 20 plus y equals 30. So you know we have to subtract 20 from both sides, so that's 10. So the answer is 4, comma. For number 3, you notice we have 9x minus 2y equals negative 21. And we have 2x plus 3y equals 16. I'm going to try to eliminate the y's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the first one by 3. I'm going to multiply the second one by 2. So I have 27x minus 6y. 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 2 is 6. Equals negative 63. 2 times 2 is 4x. 2 times 3 is 6. And 2 times 16 is 32. So now you notice that the y's can be eliminated. I'm going to go ahead and add. Negative 6y plus 6y is 0. 27x plus 4x gives you 31x equals negative 63 plus 32 gives you negative 31. And if we divide both sides by 31, we notice that x equals negative 1. Now, in this case, you can substitute into any of the two. So I have 2 times negative 1 plus 3y equals 16. So you have negative 2 plus 3y equals 16. 3y equals, and we're going to add 2 to both sides, so that's 18. Divide by 3, so the y value is 6. So the answer to this system is negative 1, comma 6. I'm going to do 4 problems, and I'm going to hold you accountable for 4 problems. I'm going to do this with you. It says use elimination to solve the system of equations. So if you look at number 1, we're going to add both equations. So you have 5x, this cancels. Negative 2 plus 12, that gives you 10. You divide by 5, so x equals 2. So now the next question is, how do we find the y value? Well, you're going to go back and use one of the equations. So I'm going to use 2x plus 2y equals negative 2. You could have chosen the other one if you wanted to. So you have 2 times 2 plus 2y equals negative 2. 4 plus 2y equals negative 2. Subtract 4, so you have 2y equals negative 6, so y equals negative 3. So the answer to this will be 2 comma negative 3. So I just finished doing number 1. Let's look at number 3. I'm going to go ahead and add these two equations. I chose 3 because I ran out of room for number 2. So we have x plus x is 2x. Negative y plus y becomes 0. And 2 plus negative 3 gives you negative 1. Next, divide by 2. So x is equal to negative 1/2. Go back and substitute. I'm going to select the second equation. So we have x plus y equals negative 3. I have a negative 1/2 plus y equals negative 3. And if I add 1/2 to both sides, y equals negative. So the answer to this system is negative 1/2, comma, negative 3 over 2, 5 over 2. Number 5, you can go either way in what you want, in whatever direction you want to take. But if you look at the y's, one's positive, one's negative. So I guess I can just say multiply the first one by 5. It just so happens that was the problem number. And then multiply the second one by 2. So you're going to go ahead and distribute that 5 to the first equation. So it's 15x plus 10y equals 0. And then the next one is 2x minus 10y equals 17 times 2 is 34. Now you notice that 10y and negative 10y, when you add them, become 0. And 15x plus 2x gives you 17x 34. Divide both sides by 17 and x equals 2. Now you have to go back into one of them to solve for y. So you have x minus 5y equals 17. So you substitute 2 minus 5y equals 17. Subtract 2 from both sides. So you have negative 5y equals 15. Divide 5 from both sides, negative 5. Y equals negative 3. So now the solution to this system is 2, comma. I'm going to do number 6. And if you notice, if you look at the y's, one of them is negative, one of them is positive. I'm just going to multiply the first equation by 2, since 2y is already in the second equation. So you have 6x minus 2y, x plus 2y equals 3. We're going to solve by the elimination method. So 6x plus x gives you 7x. Negative 2y plus 2y becomes 0, is 0. 4 plus 3 gives you 7. Divide both sides by 7, so x equals 1. So now you can choose any of the two equations to go back and solve for y. I'll choose the second equation. You have x plus 2y equals 3. Next, replace the x with 1. Substitute. So you have 1 plus 2y equals 3. And since you're solving for y, you subtract 1 from both sides. So you have 2y equals 2. So y equals 1. So the answer to this system is 1, comma 1. We're solving systems of inequalities, and you notice that we have two inequalities there, and it's basically graphing them at the same time. And we're trying to figure out the area, the solution area. So the first one, we know that it's already in slope-intercept form, and I know that the y-intercept is 0, negative 2. Now, to get to the next point, the slope is 1. And you're probably wondering, how is he coming up with these points so quickly? Well, you're going to rise and you're going to run 1 up, 1 to the right, or you're going to go down 1 and then 1 to the left. Now, you got to worry about your boundary. In this case, the boundary is broken, which means that you can't have any answers on that boundary. And since if we read the inequality, y is less than 0, I'm going to have to shade below. So that satisfies the first inequality. Now we have to do the second inequality. The y-intercept is 5. And since the slope is negative 2, I'm going to go down 2 over 1, go down 2 over 1, and I'm going to repeat that process. I can also go up 2 to the one to the left. And since it's equal, it's going to be a solid line. And you notice that it says y is greater than or equal to. So in this inequality, an answer could be on the boundary. Now, you notice where the two colors intersect. That's going to be the solution. So I'm going to put S for solution. And NS is for not a solution, okay? So if you're asking what is a solution point, it could be anywhere that's in this area. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can say 5, 0. I just randomly selected that point. And you notice that the origin is not in the answer, so I'm just selecting the origin as a non-solution. There might be a time that you have to write the inequalities in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the steps for that. So what you have to do first is subtract by 3x on both sides. Next, you have to divide by negative 3. Now, you're dividing by a negative, so the inequality has to change direction. So it's going to be y. This says less than or equal to. It's going to have to be greater than or equal to. Negative 3 divided by negative 3, that's going to be x. And then 12 divided by negative 3 gives you negative 4. I'm going to use a different color, and I'm going to put the other equation in slope-intercept form. So the first step is to subtract x from both sides. So you have 2y is greater than negative x plus 3. You notice I divided by negative x. The next step is to divide by 2. So y is greater than negative x over 2 plus 3 over 2. So let me do the blue one since that's where I left off there. The y-intercept is 3 over 2, which is 1.5. I'm going to go down 1 over 2. It's kind of hard. It's in between the lines, but that's okay. Go down 1 over 2 and continue the pattern. Go up 1 over 2 and continue the pattern. Connect the points. In this case, our boundary is hyphenated or it's broken because none of the answers can be on that. So now it says greater than. So we have to shade above. So we shade above. Now we need to graph the other inequality. So the y-intercept is negative 4. 0, negative 4 is the location. And the slope is 1, 1. So the rate of change is up 1 over 1 or go down 1 over 1. Now, since we have an equal sign on the greater, it's greater than or equal to, then we know that it's going to be a solid line. And that means that the answers can be on that boundary. And since we have to shade up, it's going to be greater. So we're going to shade up. Oh, we're going to shade up. And you notice that the pink and the yellow will overlap, and that's where our solution is going to be. So I'm going to put S here. Non-solution, non-solution, non-solution. So this point is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So it's 4 comma negative 3. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. It appears that 4, 0 is a solution. Solve the following system of inequalities by graphing. I should say inequalities. Please do all these 4 problems. I'm going to do one of them. I'm going to go ahead and do number 2. If you look at number 2, they're both in slope-intercept form, but the second one is y is less than or equal to 1. So if I graph that, it's a horizontal line, and it's a solid line, and it has a y-intercept of 1. And since it's less than 1, less than or equal to 1, you're shading below. So I'm going to go ahead and color, we're shading below. So this right here is all y is less than or equal to 1. Some students have a hard time with this, but remember that when you have a y equals, it is a horizontal line. When it's a constant like that, y equals 1. But in this case, it's y less than or equal to 1. The next one has a y-intercept of 3, negative 3. 1, 2, 3. Here's negative 3. And it has a slope of 2. So I go up 2 over 1, go up 2 over 1, go up 2 over 1. And I repeat the process. And it is a solid line. Go down 2 over 1, go down 2 over 1, go down 2 over 1. And it says less than, so you're going to shade below. So where the two intersect plus the boundaries will be the answers. So in this case, this will be solution, solution, non-solution, non-solution, and then non-solution. So 0, 0 is a non-solution answer because it's not in the shaded region, and 1, negative 1 is not in the shaded region, but it is on the boundary, and you can include it, so that is a solution. So make sure you do all 4. Thank you.